Hello everyone, this is R.Sudhakar Reddy, Assistant Professor, Department of Mining Engineering, Aditya University. Today we are going to study about mine rules. Half part is already over, we are just going to discuss about latter part, that is remaining part. And after this lecture, students may be able to know what are the rules. Rules means actually these are the rules which are required for the welfare of the employees regarding, it may be first aid, it may be welfare officer, it may be workman inspector, or it may be pit safety committee. Such rules are incorporated in the mine rules. So after this topic, students are able to know, they have some awareness regarding such rules. Coming to first aid room, at every mine employing more than 150 persons on any one day of preceding calendar year, there shall be provided and maintained in good order a suitable first aid room. In every mine, actually, this is not actually mandatory whether 150 persons or more. In every mine, there should be maintained a first aid room. And that first aid room shall be situated at convenient place on the surface of the mine and shall be used only for first aid work. The first aid room shall have a floor space of not less than 10 square meters and contain at least the equipment specified in the second schedule. The first aid room shall be in charge of qualified medical practitioner where the number of persons employed in a mine is more than 1000, and he should be assisted by a nurse also. So these are the prerequisites of the first aid room. Whenever in any mine, if the employment of preceding year, calendar year, any one day, if it exceeds 150 means there should be a first aid room. These first aid rooms should be used for only first aid work, and the floor space of this first aid room shall not be less than 10 square meters of area, and it should contain the equipment which is mentioned in the second schedule. And similarly, if the employment exceeds 1000, for example, Coal India mine, generally thousands and thousands of employees are working in the Coal India mines. So in such cases, these first aid room should be in charge of qualified medical practitioner. Generally, these qualified medical practitioner are MBBS doctors, and they are assisted by nurse and dresser. The medical practitioner referred to in class A shall be assisted by a nurse. Just now I told, nurse and a dresser or a compounder and a dresser who are qualified in the allopathic system. Here actually lot of systems of medical is there, Ayurvedic, homeopathic, allopathic, but mines we use only allopathic system of medicine. Whenever the chief inspector feels it necessary, he may require by an order in writing such number of additional nurses, compounders or dressers shall be appointed to assist the medical practitioner as may be specified by him. Sometimes chief inspector of the mines, due to more frequency of injuries or more frequency of accidents, he can suggest more number of nurses or more number of compounders or more number of dressers to assist these full-time medical practitioner. And coming to the first aid station, so one thing you have to keep in the mind, all mining students or mining any person who are going to this one, first aid room is bigger than first aid station, whereas rescue station is bigger than rescue room. So both are contrary. And coming to the first aid station, at every mine there shall be provided and maintained first aid equipment as prescribed in the third schedule. So first aid station should contain all the equipment specified in the third schedule. First aid room should contain the equipment specified in the second schedule. And these first aid stations are provided at all accessible stations where injured persons may receive first aid treatment as follows. So there should be located above ground first aid station at the top of every shaft incline where men and material normally wound are hauled, and similarly at every workshop, at every screening plant and every loading places. These are all the places where first aid stations need to be provided, and every other place where more than 50 persons are working at one time. At the top of incline, at the top of the shaft, at every workshop, at every screening plant, at loading places and any other place where 50 or more working. And similarly, if there is no first aid station within the gap of 300 meters, then there should be a first aid station. If there are already first aid station, you can exempt that first aid stations. So 300 meters is the one of the other rule which comes. So the terms and conditions apply regarding the location of first aid stations. So this should contain the equipment as specified in the schedule 3, and similarly it should be always be at the top of every shop, top of the incline, and similarly at workshop, at loading places, at every place where 50 or more persons are working, and similarly 300 meters, the gap between first aid station and other first aid station should be maximum of 300 meters. Carrying of first aid output by officials. So first thing, first aid room is bigger, then first aid station, then this is the first aid output which should be carried by every mining official. Notwithstanding anything contained in Rule 42, every foreman, sardar, mate, these are all the officials. Foreman, overman, sardar, mate, shot firer, blaster. Of course, shot firer is not a official, but still he is a supervisor actually. And blaster, electrician, mechanical in a mine shall hold the first aid qualification specified in the Rule 41 and shall carry while on duty a first aid output containing one large sterilized dressing, one small sterilized dressing, an ampule of tincture or iodine, other suitable antiseptic, and such output shall be securely packed to protect it. So, first aid output, what does it contain? Means one large sterilized dressing and one small sterilized dressing, an ampule of tincture or iodine, other suitable antiseptic. So, these are the three things which are kept in the first aid, generally fitted to the belt of the any official which is going, who is going to mines generally. And these people, all officials should be first aid qualified. So, these nowadays first aid qualification means nowadays different franchises are approved by the DGMS. DGMS means Director General of Mine Safety. So, any student or any person who wants to go through examinations conducted by the Board of Mining Examinations, for example, first class, second class, foreman, mate, they should have first aid certificate. And these first aid certificate given to the all people who are trained in the practice of first aid. So, this is the prerequisite. First aid certificate is mandatory for any miner who want to undergo any examination. And provision of shelters. At every mine, more than 50 persons are ordinarily employed. There shall be provided adequate and suitable shelters for nearer loading valves, open cast workings, workshops, mine entrances, where 25 or more persons are ordinarily employed. Generally, rest shelters will be there at some places, suitable places, where nowadays, now it is specified in the rules that 25 or more persons are ordinarily employed, then there should be provided a rest shelter. And what are the standards of rest shelter? Means every shelter shall have a floor area of not less than 14 square meters. Now, just we have come across first aid room, that is 10 square meters, whereas rest shelter is 14 because it should be spacious. In the case of flat roof of height not less than 2.5 meters, in case the roof and floor are same height, I mean to say the flat roof, and it should be minimum of distance between roof and floor should be of 2.5 meters. If it is a sloping, the maximum height difference between roof and floor should not be less than 2.5 meters and a minimum gap it should be 1.8 meters. I will give a small example. If it is like this, then the gap should be 2.5 meters and here it should be 1.8 meters. So, that is height between roof and floor, where the maximum space is there, that should be minimum of 2.5 meters, where the minimum space is there, that should be minimum of 1.1 meters. In case of sloping roof, in case of flat roof, it is 2.5 meters is the minimum height should be maintained between roof and floor. And similarly, it should be provided with adequate supply of cool and wholesome drinking water. So, wherever rest shelters are provided, it should be provided with a mechanism of cool and wholesome drinking water, and similarly it should be kept in clean and tidy conditions. So, it is the duty of owner or agent or mines manager should keep all these facilities available to the employees. So, this should be maintained in every rest shelter, all these things. And standards of canteen. So, we already studied that these rules contain all welfare measures. It may be welfare officer or pit safety committee, worksman inspector, canteen, all these things. So, these canteens should be situated not less than 15 meters away from the latrines, urinals, boiler houses. So, actually, because why this distance means, because of sometimes smell may come. So, you need to keep at least 15 meters distance from latrines, urinals, boiler houses, engine room, coal heap, ash heap or other material, any other source of dust or smoke. You should maintain a certain distances, okay, and it should be sufficiently lighted. Lighting generally, if you construct your house also, it should be properly. I hope it is the actually it should be naturally lighted, not artificially lighted. That is one of the important things. And during all hours when open for use. It should be provided with washing place for females separately, suitably separated, screened and be secured privacy. Nowadays, women employment is almost starting. So you should have separate washing place for females and males, and it should be whitewashed or color washed inside the rooms passages at least once in a year. So it should be whitewashed or color washed. All the walls means they should be done once in a year, and woodwork, structural iron, steel, all should be painted once in every 3 years actually. 3 years this one. So whitewashing should be done once in every year. If it any woodwork or structural work is there, it should be painted at least once in every 3 years. So this is all about committee, and one of the important thing is the canteen should be located at least 15 meters away from the some of the places like latrine, urinals. This should be important, and it should be kept in clean and tidy conditions, and similarly it should be whitewashed once in every year, and it should be painted, that is all this woodwork should be done once in every 3 years. And coming to the provisions of canteen, at every mine wherein more than 250 persons are ordinary employed. So just now we have done something about for example first aid room. If in any mine 150 more persons, first aid room, if 150 persons, in case of rest shelter 50, in case of canteen it is 250 persons. So this type of questions will come in MCQs, that is multiple choice questions in DGMS. So one should remember all this 50, 150, and even pit safety committee, that is pit safety committee, it is 100. So if in any mine, if 50 or more persons are working at one time, there should be provided a shelter. If in any mine, in any preceding calendar year, if 150 persons are working, then first aid room. If in any mine 250 persons are more working in a preceding year in any one day, then canteen should be provided. Similarly, if in any mine 100 persons are working in any preceding calendar in any one day, then pit safety committee should be there. So this is all summary. So these are all the things which need to be addressed actually everywhere. And coming to the welfare officer. For every mine wherein 500 or more persons are ordinary employed of the owner, agent, manager shall appoint a suitable qualified person as a welfare officer. Where the number of persons so employed in mine exceeds 2500, such welfare officer shall be assisted by another additional welfare officer. So this is the one of the important thing. In any mine 500 or more are working, then that mine should contain a welfare officer. We discussed in the previous topic also, if in any mine, if the employment exceeds 500, then there should be 3 workmen inspector, one belong to mining, one belong to electrical, one belong to mechanical. In case of welfare officer, one is enough for 500, but for every additional 2000, another welfare officer should be there. In case of workmen inspector, for every additional 1000. These are the things which should be kept in the mind while writing answers for MCQs in the DGMS, that is first class competence certificate examination conducted by the DGMS. And what are the qualifications of welfare officer? Means he should have a university degree, a degree or diploma in social sciences or labor welfare recognized by the government for the purpose of this rule, and preferably practical experience of handling labor problems in any industrial undertaking, a knowledge of the language of the district in which mine is situated. So he should know the language of the people spoken by the majority of the people actually. For example, if you want to become a welfare officer in Tamil Nadu mine, he should have able to speak Tamil, otherwise no meaning in appointing him as a welfare officer. Similarly, he should have at least 3 years of industrial experience, and he should have a graduation or degree. So these are the prerequisites. He should have university degree, he should have experience of 3 years in industrial establishment in solving this type of problems, and he should know, he should be able to speak and understand regional language. Duties of welfare officer. The duties of welfare officer shall be to establish contacts and hold consultation with view to maintain harmonious relations between the management and persons employed. He is a generally bridge between employees and employer, and to bring to the notice of the management the grievances of employees, individual as well as collective, with view to securing their expeditious redressal. For example, if employees are having some problems with food which is provided in the canteen, it will be brought to the notice of welfare officer, then welfare officer duty is to bring to the notice of the management. So these are all the things, and welfare officer should check whether the food is good or bad. If it is really bad, then it should bring to the notice of the management. To promote relations between management and employees, which will ensure productive efficiency as well as improvement in the working conditions, and to help workers to adjust and adapt themselves to their working environment. Sometimes it happens, sometimes, what example I will tell you, if welfare officer is discussing with employees, employee says that they want some more facilities for carrying out work very easily. If the things are required, and it should be brought to the notice of management. If they are okay, then management is also implement such safety measures. And to help the management in regulating the grant of leave with wages and explain to the workers the provisions related to leave with wages and their other leave privileges, to guide the workers in the matters of submission of application for grant of leaving for regulating authorized absence. So up to here. So in case of mines, 1 day leave is allowed for every 20 days of working in the above ground. In case of underground, 1 day leave for every working for 18 days. So this is 1:20 and 1:18 is generally followed in Indian mines actually. 1:20 for above mines, open cast mines, 1:18 for underground mines. For example, if any person worked for 40 days means he can get, apart from Sundays and all these things, he will get 2 days leave. So this is the summary of the topic. And to advise on welfare provisions such as housing facilities, foodstuffs, and social and recreational facilities, sanitation, individual personal problems, education to the children. So these are all the things which are addressed actually welfare officer. For example, sometimes some scholarships are provided to the children of the employees. He can advise the management also. If the management feels comfortable, they can implement also. This all depends between, I mean to say, just like friendly relations. So it is the duty of welfare officer to maintain harmonious relations between employees and employer. To supervise welfare activities, statutory or otherwise, including education and training of employees. This is one of the important things, training of employees. If he feels training is mandatory, he can suggest some employees to get training, so that management, training means, so it will contribute to the safety. Safety again, it relates to the employer's advantages, okay. And to suggest measures which will tend to raise the standard of living of workers and in general promote their being, and to perform any other duty connected with the welfare of the persons. So he has to engage in any other duties which is required for welfare of the employees. Maintenance and production of reports, registers and other records. All reports, registers and other records maintained in the pursuance of the regulations, rules and bylaws, unless otherwise as provided for, shall to be kept at in an office and nearest convenient building within the precincts of the mine. All the registers, reports, everything should be kept in the office only. Be legibly means clearly entered in ink, in English, Hindi or either the language understood by the majority of the persons employed in the mine. Be preserved in original for a period of 1 calendar year. Whatever the reports, they should be kept for 1 year. And when the original record is lost, destroyed before the expiry of true copies. So there is one option is there, true copy is there. So you can maintain one more copy. So coming to the summary of this today's class, we have discussed about welfare officer, we have discussed about rest shelter, we have discussed about this canteen, all these things. So what are the importance of these things, and how these things can be required only for welfare of the citizens. Thank you.